Okay, welcome to a test match between me and my son Charlie. We ran this test match because there's been a lot of talk about the Xwing and how best to run it, so we decided to put together a few videos, not only just to show some build diversity, but also to show off a few things that me and my son have been working on. My son has become an avid Xwing player. He has a very formidable list that has beaten me many times, and so it's a good judge when he flies it well of how a list does and how best to fly it whenever. Whenever you do field it against an opponent. Today's match has, on the Rebel side, on my side, I have Andor with Rage, I have Sensor Jammer, I have Inspired Recruit, I have Ezra, and then I have the title. I also am flying Nora with Expertise, a little bit different there, R2D2, and Tail Gunner and her title. And then my Z95s, as always, are Bear. My son's list is a very, very dangerous list. He is running Serissu with the heavy laser cannon, Predator, the title, to give him the extra hull and the heavy laser cannon. He is also running Fenrau with Push the Limit and Stealth Device with the title. He is running Manaroo to pass off the tokens, and he is on Manaroo. He has the Unhinged, the K4, he has the Feedback Array, and for the 0 points he's using Trick Shot in case he's shooting through debris. However, we can never seem to remember that is on there, and I don't know that ever comes into play, but that's the rundown of the list, and we will start to talk about what it is we are attempting to do as we maneuver through the match. I always seem to have against my son when he's running this list is I don't fly my rebel formation very well. I feel that when you're flying the rebels, if you're not flying an ace like Poe Dameron or something like that, your list really does need to stick together and focus all of its shots onto one target. If your opponent is fighting you and he is not, and he's forcing you to take pot shots at different targets, then he's beating you strategically. And so I'm working, and on this game you'll see I'm working on making sure that I have a slow creep into combat so that I force him into the first mistake. Now, I talked to him a little bit, and I convinced him to keep Manaroo out of the fight a little bit, which was actually a mistake. I think when you're flying something like the Dengaroo list, keeping Manaroo out of the fight is not a bad idea. But I think when you're using it in one of these lists where you have Fenrau and another ace, it's very good to get it into the fight because it keeps a lot of the shots off of your aces, and it allows you to add to the damage output. And if it does wind up dying, you still have two very capable aces. Now later on, you'll see in this match that him keeping Manaroo out of the fight does not pay off very well for him. Now, on his approach here, and I did talk to him about this a little bit later, Serissu doesn't have a bad approach. She has a heavy laser cannon and can do some terrific damage on those Z95s from very long range. Several of the matches that we have played, he has one shot at my Z95s with the heavy laser cannon, and it makes it very difficult for me. Now, I know, like I said in the past, my Z95s are there to die, but I'm hopeful that they don't get one shot at it. I'd like for them to at least get a shot or two off, or get a block or two off before they are taken off the board. And in this next exchange, you'll see that that does happen, and it does help me tremendously. He's going to again slow creep Manaroo. He did start him out quickly, and he decided to slow him down a little bit, and just kind of pass out the focuses for his other aces to either make them more offensive or defense. But Manaroo does a one straight here, and then he'll just focus. You'll also see that Andor, my first move with Andor, much like the shuttle on the Empire side, his first move was an all-stop. I think that might become kind of a staple of his initial move for a lot of people, just so he can take his time and do a lot of his support action or combat from a distance. Now, because of how fast his aces are, I know how fast Finral can get into combat, so I go ahead and rage here. Now, one thing that I did with this build that I like a lot, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out for me, is I put Ezra on this list. Ezra allows you, and you'll see in this next time, to turn one of those focuses into a crit, and maybe save that focus for a defensive role, which is very helpful. There's a couple mod variations to Nora that I'm contemplating. This initial one with the tail gunner helps out in this particular match, but I'm also thinking about putting C3PO on her just to make her defensive, because with expertise, all I'm ever really doing is target locking, and that leaves nothing for defense. She does have R2D2, and of course, like everybody knows, that is very obnoxious, but C3PO reducing that shot, at least one of those shots by one, is very helpful. Just like anybody who's ever flown, Miranda could tell you. So he moves Serissu, 3 straight. He puts him in a good spot. I think he has a range 3 shot with that heavy laser cannon with a focus token on my Z95, and you're going to see it's going to pay off here. Now, we talked about this move. That one turn is the move that a lot of people would have made. I told him later that something like a 3 straight, a boost, and then a barrel roll would have kept him out of a lot of firepower that would have been to his benefit later. It would have kept him from shooting me, but would have gotten him behind my squadron, and Finral could have caused a lot of havoc from there. But this maneuver he did here is a maneuver you'll see a lot of people make anyways, and so he boosted him and passed off the focus token, so that he could take a couple of shots at Andor. Now, the problem with that is that he has 2 very capable aces. Well, not even aces in the traditional sense. He has Nora and Andor pointing their guns back at them. I need my dice to roll well for this to mean anything, and I need his dice to roll badly for that to also mean something. And as everybody knows, that can't happen. So the initial salvo shots comes from Finral into Andor. Now remember, Andor has sensor jammers, so he rolls 2 focuses and a hit. Well, now he has 3 focuses. So the choice is theirs. Do I spend the focus, pass off maybe some damage, and stay there defensiveless? Well, obviously, with that many cannons pointed right back at you, no, you wouldn't do that. So there's my first bonus for my sensor jammer. keep some damage from happening to me. Here's a heavy laser cannon with a predator. He rolls hot. He rolls 3 hits and a focus. Spends the focus. We forget to remove it here, and that gets a little confusing later. But he does roll the 3 hits and a focus for 4 hits, which could one-shot my Z95. Luckily, I roll 1 evade. Thankfully, that guy's on fire, but he's still there. And therein lies the danger of the Scyk with the heavy laser cannon and predator. Now, if he would have one-shotted it, which he has done to me many times before, that would have put me in a lot worse predicament. But because that did not happen, the dice went my way. He has left me in a good spot. Range, I can't remember if it's a 2 or a 3. From Nora. Nora does have expertise. Very helpful for me. I do think this is a range because he's going to roll 5 dice here. Now this is again a dice game. Now, so I'm going to fire my 3 red dice at a Fenrau, who is going to have, stealth device. He's going to have his 5 green dice with his focus token. Here's how dice value. I have a hit and I think it's either 2 hits or a hit and a crit. Here is 1 evade and a whole lot of focuses. That is terrible because one of those is a crit. So instead of taking the crit, he goes ahead and spends the focus token, doesn't take any damage. Well, now he is tokenless against Andor. Here's where Ezra comes into play with Andor. My dice stay hot. I roll 2 hits and a focus, and I use Ezra to turn that into a crit. Here is where my son's dice fail him. That is 4 blanks. No good, right? Well, here comes the rest of the bad luck for my son. Hit, major explosion. Okay, and my son does have a bad habit of doing this, and he shouldn't do this, but so he rolls it off the table. So he should just roll the dice to see what he gets, but he drops it on the table, and it lands on a hit. Crit, dead. So there goes one of his aces in the first salvo of shots. Even if it wouldn't have killed him, that's a very damaged Fenrau. He is obviously not going to spend a lot of time left fighting in this combat, but that goes to show the strength of the rebel fleet. If you can fly them well enough in formation, get all of your shots on targets, you have to remember that someone's dice is going to fail, and it's usually the green dice that fails. So that's my Z95 shooting back at Serissu. Serissu dodges all the hits. Now the next turn, Serissu obviously does not have a whole lot of options on where he could go. He really does make the only move that he can make. Now, I know he doesn't have a lot of good moves. I block all the straights. The straight really is the best move because it still allows him to, if he gets lucky with 4 dice, to severely damage a ship, so that when Manaroo finally does get into combat, hopefully something's on fire. Maybe there's less Z95s on the board. Something to get him back into the game. Here Manaroo's going to 2-turn in. Not do much more than that. He'll focus, of course, and pass his focus off to Serissu. Obviously, at this point, the game is over, but there's still a few things that I want to show in regards to the build setup that even in a closer game might prove helpful to someone deciding how it is they want to build their list. I once traded in my inspiring recruit, dropped the stress, and then I used my rage again. Nor 3 straights. He'll take the target lock, of course. This is something cool about Nora and the target lock that I think I like with expertise. And I think this is also why I'm going to add C3PO to the mix. He does a 2 straight. Obviously, he can't do that. In any other turn, he could have 2-turned. He could have barrel rolled out, and he could have taken a focus from Manaroo and maybe taken 1 or 2 shots, and maybe a lot of maybes, whatever. Extended the game on forever. I think once I dropped his ace or severely injured it, the game was over. So I think he decides to take his first shot at Andor. This is where I really like Sensor Jammer. Now I know a lot of people are against Sensor Jammer, but so he's going to fire his heavy laser cannon into Andor, and he's going to roll a hit, 2 focuses, and a blank, and then he's going to re-roll his blank into a hit, I believe. I'm sorry, he rolls a hit, 2 focuses, and a blank, and I Sensor Jammer 1 of those hits into a focus. So he has 3 focuses. He re-rolls his blank into a hit, so obviously spend that focus token, get the 4 hits out of it, hope for the best, right? The dice gods are on my side today, and I roll 2 evades. 4 hits coming at me. I make him spend his focus token. I roll 2 evades. I don't think it could have happened. It could not have worked out any better for me. The first 2 shields come off my Xwing. I return fire. Now this is what's kind of cool about expertise on Nora. So I'm going to roll a natural 3 dice here. I'm going to roll a natural 3 hits. That and that happens. That's every day. That's an everyday shot. I spend my target lock to add the focus, and then because I have expertise, I can turn my focuses into hits. So I have 4 hits on the table. I believe he's undamaged to this point. He has a shield and everything. He has a bad habit of rolling 1 dice at a time, but he rolls an evade and 2 blanks. That leaves him with 1 hit point left. I constantly have to remind him because he doesn't know about the card actually adds the extra hole. So he does have 1 hit point left. There he is, just drinking his Mountain Dew. Part of our tradition to play the game is that I do allow him to drink a soda while we play. That is his one vice while we Xwing together. So here comes my shot from Andor. I can't remember what I roll here, but I do believe I finish him off with this shot. 3 dice. Reminding him here to let me roll my dice first. So I roll a couple blanks and a hit. My rage allows me to re-roll. I believe one of those is a focus, and it's just 2 hits. Just 2 hits on the table, but he does need evades here. He only has 1 hit point. He rolls 1 evade, 2 blanks, and 1 hit goes through and kills the ship. So quite obviously the game's over. there are still a few cool things here that I want to show before I end the video in regards to build and build concepts. So my Z95 is gonna go forward, try to block some things up, which I think I do pull off a block here, because he's also trying to get close and trying to get more dice. My other Z95, the damage one, is going to 3-turn in and focus up. He does try to kill that one and is unlucky in pulling off that feat. So he's going to force straight here with Manaroo and get blocked up and not get any actions. I am going to I'm going to 2-turn in here with Andor. Now I know I'm stressed, and the 2-turn is a white, so I'm not too concerned about that. And one of the reasons I'm not too concerned about that, because while stressed, Ezra gives me kind of an expertise type ability where at least if I roll one focus, I do get to turn that to a crit, and that is helpful here. So I'm going to land on top of that. I'm going to wind up with entirely too many stress to be comfortable with. The Xwing is a shuttle. Don't let anyone fool you about that. It is not very maneuverable at all, and doesn't do well if you get it in a bad predicament. So on this particular build, I have Tail Gunner, and I just for the first time got myself in a position where I'm going to be reducing his agility by 1. I think that's a pretty cool ability, although not being defensive without C-3PO is a little dangerous. And it didn't go a long way to end the game. It ended the game eventually. Just the game was already over, so it doesn't matter. There's a hit and a crit there. I rolled a hit and a blank. I spent my focus. I spent my target lock for the focus and turned it into a crit. He rolls a blank. He takes 2 shields, I think, or whatever it might be. Andor's shot comes in with 4 dice. And I can't remember. I can't see what that is out there, but one of those is a crit, so there you go. I have 2 hits and a crit because Ezra's on board and I'm very stressed out. So kind of gives him the ability when you stick yourself in that inevitable bad position with a shuttle type ship, that you can still pump out a little bit of damage with all the stress you're going to be carrying around on that ship. So he rolls his 2. I think he might get 1 of 8 here, but he starts taking some crits here. That actually might be 2 crits. I might have rolled a hit, a focus, and a crit. Toss out 2 crits here. Whenever he does a white maneuver, he gets stressed, so not the end of the world for him. He did have 1 shield. He rolled 1 of 8, so he took a shield and a crit. He's going to try to finish off that Z95. He rolls 1 hit. Unmodified. I'm going to roll 1 of 8. And again, this game has been mine because the dice gods chose me over him. I think I rolled 2 hits here. 2 of 8s. Good for him. So quite obviously the Z95s are out of it. Andor is also out of it. But that's okay. Nora's floating around out there with one more cool shot left that finishes it off. Again, if anyone put any heavy pressure on Nora, I don't know that Tail Gunner would be cool enough to keep on there. I think C-3PO is going to be my choice, but if you're watching this video and if you're thinking to yourself, I really, really, really want to run Tail Gunner, this is kind of a cool way to do it. He's going to 4 straight, which is a white. So he's going to double stress him out. He's not going to have any tokens. Nora is just going to 1 straight and target lock. She will be at range 1. So he's just going to mosey up there. Double stressed. Andor's going to move next. He's going to 2 bank out. Drop 2 of the stresses. Still be useless because he's still going to be carrying around 1 stress. But at this point, he's done his job. He's done a lot of damage to a couple of ships and lived. So now I will say that while I did do very well against my son in this match, we have played similar lists against each other many times, and he has throttled me. So I will take no pride in the fact that this game went very well for me. He has rolled into a range 1 of Andor many of time, and 5 dice shot him, and that was just not fun for Andor. That was back when I was trying fire control system, and I was sensor jammer all the way on the Xwing. I just can't do it any other way. So I roll 3 dice. I think I roll 1 hit and 2 blinks. He rolled his 1 dice again prematurely. He is only going to get the 1 dice because of Tail Gunner. I'm going to spin this, and I'm just going to re-roll the 2 dice and see if I get anything good out of it. Because remember, I have expertise, so if I roll 2 focuses, then I'm good. I think I roll a focus and a crit, so I turn 1 to a crit, and the other stays a hit. So there's a hit and 2 crits sitting out there. He's going to roll 1 dice. It's going to be focus, maybe. He has 4 hit points left. So as we start going through the cards, it is 2 crits. So he could live if as long as one of these is not a double damage. Helping him with explaining to him that keeping a tidy play area is going to be helpful for him and his opponents when we play in tournaments in the future. That's double damage right there, so that's game. So that's 5 hits. That's game. Wish each other good game, and I appreciate you guys watching. See you guys next time. Bye.